Hi, welcome to this small shed. This Saturday I'm just cleaning up a few odds and sods. See you in a minute. Now inevitably, amongst all the day-to-day stuff that comes and goes in here, there are little jobs that get done that I generally tend to record, but they're not worthy of a full video effectively. So I've gathered a few of these bits together, and there's a couple of videos to come out over the next few weeks that just show odds and sods of stuff that are getting done. So let's have a look at some of the jobs that have come through and not made it so far. The first job was sorting out the front door, which had been sticking a little bit. It's hard enough to open it as it is because it's got a handle and a Yale lock on it, so you need two hands, but it was starting to get to the point where it was almost impossible to open without having to lift it, and that was primarily just on the outside, the inside edge, I mean, where the lower part of the rebate is. And I really didn't want to get involved in taking the whole thing off. The proper job would be to take it off its hinges, unscrew it, work on it in the hallway on its back and plane it down, but I, being lazy and it being heavy, I didn't want to go down that route. I hadn't got enough room because there's only about an inch and a half clearance underneath it to get a plane in or anything, and there was probably too much to just use a block of sandpaper, so I decided to have a go with the little power file I've got and see if I couldn't get somewhere with that. It's a tool that I hadn't really used much or come across much until fairly recently, and a colleague at Men in Sheds had got one, and then I noticed a couple of the guys on the car restoration channels using them on steel to get metal ground off as well, and thought they looked a pretty useful bit of kit. So I actually ended up, I think I bought one just before Christmas, and it's one of those tools that you don't use very often, but when you do, it solves an awful lot of problems and it's really useful. And all I've done really, because it's so low, is just been able to get underneath the door with it and effectively sand the bottom of the door clear. It's only a small amount, and it was only a relatively short length that needed doing. Trouble is, the door gets slightly wet or damp from rain going down it and that sort of thing, and you end up with the timber swelling, takes up moisture. So again, as soon as that's sorted, I'll give it a coat of some sort of preservative or sealer as soon as I've got something on the go. I have got some stain water repellent Sadolins, I think, which I'll probably be using on the Land Rover, Palletwood Land Rover. So I'll just get a little spot of that on a brush and seal up the underneath once it's done. But at the moment the main aim was just to get this door so that we could open it and shut it without too much trouble. Belts for these things are readily available, and again I've not really found that it's particularly hungry on the belts. I've had that one in more or less since I've had it, I think, and it's been used on aluminium, it's been used on hardwoods. I think I was using it when we were doing the mezzanine floor at the Men in Sheds unit. Really is quite a useful little bit of kit, and I've got the Ryobi one, so it's cordless, and it means I'm using all the same batteries as all the other kits, so I only had to buy a bare unit, and like the Random Orbital sander, it's just given me that opportunity to be able to go out and do jobs and little bits like this without having to carry huge amounts of wire around to plug them in and get plug boxes and things like that. It's really very useful for getting into intricate little spaces. Just get a little bit of clearance. I think the end of it's only about 25mm wide, so it'll go into slots and all sorts and clear out. But that seems to have done the job. Right, we've got a very quick thing to assemble this week. I don't quite know how it works. We've had mouse trouble before, as I've mentioned, both in the house and in my wife's greenhouse. I've stopped the greenhouse problem by blocking all the holes up with squirty foam, builder's foam stuff, and hopefully, touch wood, they're out the house. But we've seen one in the garden the last few days, on and off, around both the compost bin and the bird feeder, where obviously there's seed and stuff. But we're not sure whether it is a mouse or a rat. It looks big to us. So I've got a new sort of, hopefully humane, rat trap. I could have got a big one that splatted the rat, but unfortunately I really didn't fancy the idea of cleaning dead rat off a mouse trap, or a rat trap. So I've got a plastic one, although then I assume if something was trapped inside it would soon eat its way out, but hopefully it wouldn't be in for that long. Effectively it's just a big box, but it's much bigger than the little humane ones we had before. So I'm just going to have a quick look at that, see how it works. Left and right, I don't know what. That just clips on the end. Presumably will catch in some way once it's on. Yeah. So we put that on first. So I'm not holding out too much hope, but something I wanted to sort and jump on relatively quickly, because if we've got one, even if we've only got one at the moment, the chances are we'll have a lot more in the future. Right. Trusting, yeah, I've put the wrong bit on already, but never mind, we'll put the end on first, I think. Is that right? Transparent box is placed upright on the table. Front and rear covers are aligned. Press down the above picture is installed both sides of the... Oh, I see, you put both ends on, so it doesn't really matter. I think that goes inside. If this fails, I'll do what I did before with the mouse and get a bucket with like a walking the plank job on it, and I'll walk across and then fall in the bucket, I hope. But this was relatively cheap and I thought we'd give it a go. Right. That's it, I see. So there's obviously something holds these doors open, which I assume is the... I don't know. You tell me. Ah, I see, when that's up in the air. No. Unfortunately written in Chinglish as usual with these things. Gently flatten the bottle this when the wire will slip naturally stuck in the pedal groove. Yeah, okay. I think I'm on my own with this one. Ah, I see. Yeah, there's tiny grooves on the side of these folding doors, which, that's it. That's it. Which, if you lift it very slightly, they catch in the groove. Like that. That's it. Got it. We stick an end on it, which is presumably to enable me to let Mr. Rat out, or Mr. Mouse, whatever he is. We put some bait on that down the far end, and when he comes along, his weight, hopefully, he does look quite big and fat, when he treads on that, shuts the doors behind him. I've got it. Right, okay, and then that also is another locking door for the other end, which will enable me to pick him up, take him for a walk in the car 5 miles away, and let him go and find somebody else's house to be a nuisance at. Good. Happy with that. That seems to be a sensible idea. Apart from the fact the only real reservation I've got is how easy it would be for them to gnaw their way out, because I know how well these little critters can gnaw, but we'll give it a go and see anyway. For 5 or 6 quid it's got to be worth a try. We'll go and find something. They usually like chocolate. I'll put a few nuts and some chocolate in there. Get treated well round here, mice and rats, and we'll see if we get anything. It may even be, I'm hoping it'd be big enough for a squirrel as well. If I could get a squirrel, that would be absolutely excellent, because they're also a bloody nuisance that are running rampant in the garden, but we'll see what happens with this. Right, so it looks like we've actually managed to get what we thought was a big mouse, but in fact I'm pretty certain he's a rat, after about 3 or 4 weeks trial. So I've taken him a mile or 2 away from home, and I'm just going to let him out, because I really don't like killing animals. So out you go. There, that's a rat, isn't it? Off you go, son. So there we are, a couple of little jobs done, a couple more to do I think in a week or two's time. Hopefully we'll be back next week, but as I mentioned yesterday, I'm not quite sure, because I'm having great struggles with this software that I've got that needs an upgrade of a computer. So maybe back next week, maybe not. If not, I will be back shortly. I'll see you then. Bye.